This is Bitcoin zoomed out on the weekly. Something big is coming to Bitcoin. Something big is coming to altcoins. You might be rolling your eyes right now because me and a lot of other analysts have been saying this for like a year now. And I just want to say, if you are annoyed by that, it's purposeful, not on my end, but on their end and what they're doing right now. Bitcoin whales are on a sustained accumulation spree. This entire last year, as you look at a Bitcoin chart, has been a massive redistribution phase. Many people expecting a parabolic move has not happened. I want to discuss and dissect on the Bitcoin chart as well as Ethereum, the altcoin market cap chart, what is going on here. And we're fundamentally going to dive into really what is going on here. But I want to start the video by discussing what really is happening behind the scenes. Bitcoin whales just shifted 3 billion Bitcoin into BlackRock's ETF. So hit the subscribe and like on the way in if you're not in our intelligence system with our risk models, our exit planners, our autonomous AI. If you're a macro investor, now is the time to strategize, to plan for these cycles. And in my opinion, the upcoming bull cycle, because I don't think it's happened yet. And I'm going to explain why in this video. We have a free trial going on right now. Get back there. You can see many of the models that are on my dashboard. And you can customize this back here. Many of them are in like buy territory, low risk territory. So let's start the video. Investors now want to move at least 20% of their Bitcoin into ETFs, with some even going all in. That's number one. But it's not just Bitcoin. And then we're going to get into the charts. It's not just Bitcoin, everybody. I saw this post, and this is so important. There's now 155 crypto ETP filings tracking 35 different digital assets. Could easily end up seeing over 200 hit market in the next 12 months. Total land rush. Think about this for a second. In the next 12 months, as we go through the analysis of this video, I want you to really think about that, because when we start studying Bitcoin, and I've overlaid some very important business cycle data, liquidity data onto this chart, and I want to discuss kind of what's going on at this point in the cycle, just remember what Eric is saying here in the next 12 months. And then I saw a repost of this post. This was Nate. My takeaway from this. And by the way, look at all look at all these coins. This is what's going on right now. This is what we're waiting for. So Nate said, my takeaway from this, highly bullish on index-based and actively managed crypto ETFs. No way TradeFi investors ready to navigate all of these single tokens. They're going to take a diversified shotgun approach to an emerging asset class. Seems obvious. Emerging asset class. That is altcoins. That is what you see right here. So we're going to look at the altcoin chart. I want to look at Ethereum chart because listen, on the short term, even maybe the midterm, the way this cycle has gone, it can be choppy, everybody. We could fall into another high fear environment right now. But I'm thinking longer term for this cycle. And I think this Bitcoin chart is really going to help guide us. So what I want to talk about is not only the fundamentals of the business cycle, but I want to keep in mind what's going on, and just keep this in the back of your mind, because that's what I'm doing as I do this analysis. The pro-crypto legislation, the government shut down right now, but even I think today there's a market structure meeting that's going on. But all of this pro-crypto legislation, the Clarity Act, the approval of the altcoin ETFs, at the intersection of this business cycle data. And also keep this in mind. I reposted this post earlier. Whales are buying the dip. And you can see these are whales. They're adding tons of Bitcoin after the October 10th crash. Here's what I think is going on right now. The chart demonstrates this. The great crypto redistribution. This is the cycle of orchestrated shakeouts so that big money can buy more of retail's crypto for cheap. They were never going to make it easy this cycle. And that's the thing. I started the video by saying, if it annoys you that I'm sitting here saying something big is coming, because many of us have been saying that for so long, I understand. I really do. But I think it's because this has been orchestrated. And not only that, when we start overlaying this chart, the balance sheet, the Fed balance sheet, I did a video on this like last week, really just trying to line up just QT, QE, when liquidity is being sucked out of the market, when it's being injected into the market, and how it aligns with crypto cycles. What I did was I went to the Bitcoin chart, and this really gives us a very clear demonstration of where we are in the cycle. I just overlaid important areas, right? So you can actually, I overlaid all the way back here, 2012, 13, QE phase, right? I overlaid here post QE normalization phase. So there's a Bitcoin bull market. Here's the Bitcoin bull market. I overlaid QT phase, quantitative tightening. There's a crypto bear market. And then I overlaid this one. And this is the most meaningful right now for multiple reasons. As you see, during this QT that was extremely extended, the Fed signaling like a week or two ago, QT is going to come to an end in the coming months. Look how Bitcoin, in much of the QT era, saw higher highs and higher lows. And many are just saying that was the bull market and it's about to end. And they're saying that as QT is actually about to come to an end. We've seen sustained growth in an environment where it likely should have been very probably sustained suppression in the lows, right? And if you go to altcoin market cap chart, I want to point this out. We'll take a look at it. But same thing. In this environment of multi-year QT, even altcoins on the altcoin market cap chart have held quite strong. And my point being here with all of this is if you go back to the Bitcoin chart, QT has not even come to an end yet. So I'm wondering, and I mentioned this in a video before, are we going to have a post-QT normalization bull market, right? Is that potentially what's going to happen? Because we don't even necessarily need QE. And I have a little note here, some factors that could lend itself into QE. But on the short to midterm, I don't think that's something we even need to think about. I'm not saying we're going to get a quantitative easing, just massive liquidity injection that's going to just kind of launch us into a bull market. But let's keep an eye on things like the economy, continued like weakening of the economy, inflation, if it does start continuing to fall, surprising a lot of people, or some type of financial shock, right? Some type of just mass fear event that just causes the Fed to just do this crazy QE. We don't need those things for a bull market. We could have a post-QT normalization phase, a bull market phase. But it's more of the restrictions that we've just been in for all of these years that coming to an end. That is massive. All that happening while every dip, Bitcoin whales are on a sustained accumulation spree. And it seems every dip, we get these high fear, retail panicking, retail getting frustrated because if you go to an altcoin market cap chart, guess what? We've not seen this parabolic bull market. We've spent years, and we really have. We spent years accumulating and preparing and just, waiting for a potential repeat of last cycle on the altcoin chart, of 2 cycles ago, just massive parabolic 10, 20, 50x gains. Guess what? It's not happened. It's not happened. But that just is what it is. We have a brand new cycle. We have a brand new market. And things are operating completely differently right now. But one thing that I do know is institutions have been accumulating, retail has been getting frustrated, and we have massive pro-crypto legislation getting ready to be passed. Not only just that, but the just allowing for innovation and just trillions of dollars to come into the space. You can imagine why someone like me might just be bullish, or at least lean bullish on the macro, when you start also looking at the business cycle. And I say that all within kind of this context of our risk models. Look at our risk models. Like some of them are quite low, but even Bitcoin being at a 45 right now, Bitcoin has not had a traditional Bitcoin bull market, even with its own risks. Getting into the 60s, retracing, and retracing quite a lot. You can just see there 40, 30s, 35 retracing. That if you go to like a risk model in the mid 30s, right? We go back to our dashboard. We can go to SWE, and you can see on that chart right now we're at a 36, and notice that's a moderate buy. So going back to something like the Bitcoin, the Bitcoin risk model, when we're falling into those areas, right? We did back here like 2024. That's a complete reset of this chart. That wasn't a parabolic bull market and then it's over, but we've had these multiple resets on the risk models for all of these charts. So if we go to Ethereum though, I want to discuss something, and that is when we take all of these things into account, and obviously I'm macro bullish right now, but when we take all of these things into account, we're in a throwback, a technical move. We have more downside. This could be a high fear environment in the short to low or short to midterm. That is, we're falling deeper into the apex. We're at the 50-week moving average. The lower 3000s for Ethereum is in play. Bear market talk will be starting. We even have a 200-week moving average. But just look, we fell below the 200-week moving average. If you remember, the tariff fear, guess what? That's like a bear market move, but it wasn't the bear market starting. This cycle is completely different than any other cycle we've had before. That's why we need to zoom out, anticipate just crazy fear, capitulation environments, rotation, redistribution to whales as retail panics in those environments for the upcoming bullish era for crypto, whether it's legislation, whether it's business cycle stuff, whatever it is. And that's what I'm doing, everybody. I wanted to kind of go over all of these things because this is what's happening right now. Fundamentally, on the Bitcoin charts, the crypto charts, and the altcoin charts, we didn't really take too much of a look at this, but it's the same thing here. In recent dips, we saw the altcoin market cap chart go to 200-week moving average. That could be in play, and the bull market has not started yet, but doesn't mean the bear market is starting. It could just be this is the accumulation phase and the redistribution phase. And this cycle, it's not going to be easy. It hasn't been easy. And that's okay. It doesn't mean it's not bullish. So these are my thoughts today. I appreciate you all cruising through. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. If you're not in our intelligence system with our risk models, get back there, try us out. We have a free trial going on right now. Appreciate each and every one of you watching. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.